Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May 30th Product Analytics Group Sync. We have a light agenda today, just the build board review, though we'll kind of see if anyone has anything they'd want to share or talk about afterwards. But let's go ahead and get started with the board review. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. All right, so with open, we've got logging, which really just needs to be reprioritized. What remains at this point is just whether we want to move it to an external logging stack, which we'll probably need some consulting with our SRE, but I'll try to update that issue soon. We've got saving visualization to file and designer outputs and correct visualization definition that are open but assigned to Rob. Rob, is there anything to call out here?
I have no updates on these.
No worries. We've also got handling customer data and customer facing releases and access to production cluster readiness. I believe this is just how we should be able to handle customers. But imagine there's no progress on this since I've been out, but that will be the main priority for me this week.
There's been a little bit.
Oh, has there? Okay.
Yeah, so Nels is starting to put together issues about what it is we need to do and started picking through the analytics stack and seeing what needs to change before we can start storing red data in ClickHouse.
Awesome. Great. That's great to hear. So I'll check those out and see what we need to do to prioritize that. But just as a call out, I suppose my main priority is to figure out how we can get out to customers as quickly as possible. Thanks, Max. We have the first user onboarding flow, which I don't know if James has joined us. So if someone has something they can share about this issue, otherwise we'll just move on. A couple of additional infrastructure related issues regarding Helm charts, deployments, ClickHouse and things like that, but they are unassigned. So unless there's anything anyone would like to call out with any of these, we'll just move on to what's assigned. We have the bug that was related, I believe, to time zones for the today date range returning in a complete set. This is currently assigned to Alan, but I don't know, Alan, if you've looked at this recently at this point since you've initially looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't reproduce anything, so we really couldn't move forward till we could figure out exactly what would happen.
Yeah, I can detail more of how to reproduce that at this point. It's a time zone issue between your local and the server, and it not returning events because the date range is effectively incorrect depending on where you're querying from. But I'll update that issue.
I mean, we'll talk about it offline. There's code in there that should be handling that. So
yeah, if there is, for some reason it's not happening though. Like there will be instances where I send an event and it doesn't show up unless I change the date range to literally the date after that, which you shouldn't have to do that, right? So I definitely agree with that. Cool. Then this is dependent on updating the Snowplow SDK, but that's pending us updating the different clusters. Which I have a change request issue ready to go. I just need to create it. But all of these settings are there to change for the SREs. And then I don't believe Lorena has joined us so don't know if there's anything to update on documentation for custom dashboards. So we'll go ahead and move on to workflow design. Kevin, you have RITE prototypes, creating a custom dashboard for product analytics. Anything to update here?
No, it's on track. All good. This issue is linked to a research issue that is probably not going to show up on this board.
Cool. We've got removing Jitsi related front-end code from product analytics features, which is blocked. And then we've got two issues here ready for development, creating configuration screen for configuring product analytics post initial setup. Kevin, anything to mention here?
No, we had some discussion in my request with Elwin at the time, and I kind of iterated on the design a bit. So I don't know who's going to pick it up, but it's linked to the issue. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me.
Great. Then we've got an issue for product analytics. Project settings are visible to all ultimate projects. Now, anything to call out here?
That's in review. That's my bad. Update it.
No worries. Go ahead and move that over. And then in development, we've got improving management of secrets within the stack. Max.
So this property hasn't progressed really at all since you went away. It's been approved by infrastructure, but it is still waiting for IT to actually create the Okta group.
Okay.
I've raised it with Tim again, but I don't really know what to do at this point.
Okay, I'll continue to escalate and then
Okay.
see if we can get that group provisioned. Thanks for dealing with that and trying to push that forward. Obtaining developer documentation from Jitsi to Snowplow event collection. You also have this issue.
Yeah, so I assigned this to myself, but I'm kind of regretting that now at the moment. I'm not entirely sure what it is that it's asking me to do, I guess. So there's some stuff in the actual documentation whereby we're referring to Jitsi specific cube schemas, which is easy enough to update. But I'm wondering if perhaps when you wrote the issue, there was something different you had in mind, in which case, let me know and I'm happy to work on that.
Yeah, it was very generic. I think it might have been more around the instrumentation documentation when you finish the onboarding flow. But
that in which case I might not be the right person to do that because I haven't got much exposure to the front end JavaScript framework, so I don't want to be updating the instructions for them only to be incorrect. So yeah, possibly unassign me from this for now. I'm not sure.
Sure, I'll take a look at it and
Okay.
flesh out the issue description. I think I only put on a few handful, like we need to just update any existing Jitsi documentation. So they were very generic. So my apologies.
Okay, cool.
As mentioned, I have the draft for the infrastructure change request. So all of the clusters, that issue will go up today so that we can connect all the clusters to Snowplow, and then we can start to do the Snowplow changeover across all the environments. So this will hopefully be closed out very soon. We've got ensuring the visualization designer is Snowplow compatible by Elwin. Unless anyone has anything to add there, we'll just move on to in review. Cool. Halil, you have removing Jitsi related backend code from product analytics features.
Yes, so it's actually kind of looked like basically we can't merge it, but it's reviewed. Ellen reviewed it as the first reviewer, but we don't move forward until now. And some parts also, he also created another MR to remove more code. So yeah, it's like we can review, but like we will not merge it until it's ready. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll prioritize the Snowplow switchover as fast as possible. Cool. We've got fetching dashboard configurations from the back end. Rob.
Yeah, with Snowplow in mind. So I've come back to maintainer reviews for the two MRs this relates to from Jan. So I'm looking through and responding to that feedback this afternoon. Sounds like Jan's been having a bit of issue with Snowplow on his GTK. So we'll probably end up having a phone call at some point just to try and help him out on that and see if we can get it working on his machine too.
Sounds good. Cool. We have product analytics admin settings that contain encrypted fields should also be displayed as password fields by Ellen. It's in review. We'll just gloss over that since it's also confidential. This is related to the Snowplow switchover, so just keep moving forward. Lorena, I don't believe is on the call still, so just jump over that. We've got the visualizations GraphQL endpoint. Max, anything to call out here?
Yeah, I mean, it's in review. It's in maintain review with Alan, I believe. This just adds a GraphQL connection between project and a project's visualizations without having to go through the dashboards to make life easier. It's done, basically. So once Alan's happy, we can get it merged.
Awesome. Yeah, and you've got a bug for fetching custom dashboard files from an empty repository creates an error.
Yeah, I discovered this today while working on some other stuff. Just quickly created issue for it. It's not a big error that pops up, but it is an error nonetheless when you're working with a T repo. For some reason, the commit API returns an HTML response, which then causes a cascade of errors. Yeah, small fix in review. Gotcha.
In verification, we probably have a ton of issues that are just pending the Snowplow support rollout. But Alan, anything worth calling out for these two issues?
No, just waiting for Snowplow.
Got it. And Ellen's got the next three for Snowplow support as well. Yep. And then the remaining three as well, Alan, are these, yeah, all Snowplow support. So Got it. Cool. Looking at the bookmark, then update project analytics settings to match the latest designs. So you've got a number of new closed issues, tracking usage of product analytics. Max, anything worth calling out here?
No, other than that we now track usage of project analytics.
Awesome. We can now add saved visualizations as panels and dashboards. Jan, anything worth mentioning here?
No, just that it works nicely, and I'm excited to get this to a state where we can release it to customers, because it makes dashboards a lot more usable.
For sure. Great. We've also, Max, you've added a way to identify that a dashboard is built in rather than custom. Anything worth mentioning?
Yeah. So in the GraphQL API now, when you query a dashboard, there's I think it's user defined as the name of the field, and that returns true or false depending on whether it's a custom dashboard or a built-in one.
Awesome. And Ellen has updating the product analytics section styles. So we've got a little bit of updates to our settings styles. So that's great. And then we've put the entry points to the dashboard and visualization designers behind a feature flag. Anything worth calling out here?
No, just that everyone's aware the first customer-facing release will be basically read-only of the audience and behavior dashboard. All behavior related to the visualization designer or features related to the visualization designer, creating new dashboards, saving those, etc., is now behind a new feature flag.
Nice. Yep. And once we have those experiences in a state where we're happy to give to customers, we'll roll that out. We've got removing the ignore rule for ClickHouse connection string. Max, anything worth calling out here?
No, this was just a tiny little thing, the last step of removing the non-encrypted database field. So we've now removed the ignore rule. So the field is definitely not being used anymore.
Awesome. And then finally, we've got separating ClickHouse from the analytics stack. Leo, anything to call out here?
Yeah, so we now have a new repository with like ClickHouse operator. And just to clarify that actually we still have a ClickHouse in analytics stack, but this new one is like a proof of concept. It's working. So I created an epic with like improvements so that if you follow it, we can separate. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Then that wraps up the border view. I will add the bookmark. And we have an agenda item. Max, take it away.
It's only kind of half an agenda item, but I just want to make sure, I'm wondering, is there a single source of truth for everything that needs to be done before we're sort of snowplow complete? Do we need one? Is there anything that's obviously outstanding that anyone can be sort of prioritizing to make sure there's nothing being held up that doesn't need to be held up right now, I guess?
I think the major issues at this point is just one, rolling out. The clusters have been updated, so they are snowplow capable. So it's really just connecting the dev staging and GitLab.com instances to those clusters. That's, I think, the big, as we saw with the verification issue, that's what I think we're mostly hung up on. I think a lot of the front end team has caught different issues related to actually using the dashboards with snowplow at this point. So I'll defer to them if there are any more kind of like show-stopping issues, but I don't think so.
From the two MRs I'm working on are blocking from a front end point of view, but they should be the last two elements that we're aware of that are needed to make it an end-to-end environment. But thereafter, once we've got that, we're going to want as many people as possible in this team or elsewhere test it once we've got the infrastructure in place to properly test this flow and make sure we've caught every possible, problem and permutation that might come about. We've simplified it a lot by putting behind the two designer, the dashboard and visualization designers behind feature flags to make life a bit easier, but we should still doubly, triply check we haven't forgotten anything.
Yeah, the biggest question mark I have for a feature in terms of compatibility that I can't get working on my machine is onboarding for snowplow. So yeah, I think Rob and I will probably do that. And anyway, we have a call that we're going to have right after this. So if something comes out of that, I'll make sure to share it with the team.
Cool. And the backend's made some changes as well as far as like representing the state for triggering the onboarding flow. So if there's any updates we need to make, then we can take a look. But apart from that, we still have to enable the feature flag. So once we connect the instances, we can definitely do some more extensive like end-to-end testing with staging before we're very comfortable with rolling out the Snowplow support flag for production. Just to make sure we don't, because once we switch over in production specifically, there will be a backup done for the databases, but we're basically scaling down Jitsi, and so we want to be fairly confident that Snowplow is working properly. Thankfully, I've already tested the cluster side is looking good in terms of like that will collect events, assuming all the onboarding steps have taken place. But I think from a UI point of view, we'll definitely want to test that just to be sure. But cool. Does that answer your question, Max?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I guess from a backend point of view that we're not holding anything up. And as long as we're happy with that, then that's great.
Yeah, I will. I had a draft before right when I was heading out to PTO of like kind of all the steps that have to take place. So I don't think I put that into an issue yet. So I'll follow up with this agenda item to link that as the source of truth in terms of what all has to happen, including the infrastructure change requests in terms of connecting the clusters to those environments, things like that, so that everyone can refer to that. So cool. All right. Anything as far as show and tell or any other topics that anyone would like to talk about? All right, then 10 minutes back. It's good to see everyone, and have a good rest of your Tuesdays and the rest of your week.